the impression you get is that the failure here was on the part of the Republicans to craft a convincing narrative. And I find that staggering, given the extraordinary level of challenges that America faces internally, economic, inflation, all of those sorts of issues, and externally with very real threats to America's position in the world. Why is it so difficult for the Republicans, it seems, to mount a clearer narrative?
Yeah, usually the nominal head of the party is either the current president or the ex-president, or somebody who by acclaim will probably be the next president. In this case, Donald Trump fulfilled two of those criteria. He thinks he's going to be the next president, and he was the last president. So in a usual midterm election, Trump would then assume the mantle of the party unifier. And that would have entailed two or three things. He would have said, look, the message is that these people are McCarthyites, and they're equating their own defeat with insurrection. But it's absurd, because in sort of an egocentric idea, all they're saying is if we lose, then democracy is done. If we win, democracy is okay. And he could have exposed that. Then he could have said, and Joe Biden is buying off the electorate. He's emptying the petroleum reserve. He's giving amnesty to marijuana convictions. And most importantly, he's forgiven illegally $500 billion of student debt. And that's all intended to get you students to come out, and young people and young women on the abortion to come out. But this is why you shouldn't do this. Here is your inflation, your crime, your border, and this is what we're going to do about it. But instead of that leadership, he was engaged in a fight against Mitch McConnell on whether his candidates that he endorsed would be those that the Republican establishment endorsed. Anybody who voted for his impeachment or criticized him, he attacked. And he was raising money separately from the Republican congressional funding. And then he was very worried about Ron DeSantis. And the result was there was no coherent leadership from everybody. There was no contract like Newt Gingrich had done in 1994, contract with America. So people said, well, yeah, we agree with you that Biden is an awful president and we don't like him, but you never told us what you're going to do. And they tell us that you guys are crazy and you're going to take away women's abortion, people are going to die. What do you say about that? And then we had some very, very astute, conservative, against the grain pollsters, the Trafalgar Group, Inside Advantage, Rasmussen, and they had been so much more accurate than the standbys, the Emerson poll, the Susquehanna, the Monmouth poll, the New York Times, CBS, NBC, Wall Street, in past elections. So when they came out and they said, we have a different formula, we look at the suppressed conservative voter that will not talk to pollsters, and we factor that in, and therefore all these candidates that now apparently have lost, if you look at the polls, they were either dead even in these conservative polls or ahead. And that created, I think, a sense of laxity or delusion that when you looked at Blake Masters and Kerry Lake and Herschel Walker and Lee Zeldin, on the last day of the polling, on conservative polls, they were either all tied or ahead. And people said, well, they've been right before. So there was a sense of premature celebration, red wave. And the left outspent them. They outspent the Republicans 3-1, and they scared the population, the voter electorate. And I don't think the Republicans were prepared for it. The fact that they're going to, I think, still take the House, and they have a 50-50 chance of capturing the Senate, means that for all these mistakes, they can just barely, and they will barely, stop all legislation. If they take the House, Joe Biden can't pass any legislation whatsoever. There will be investigations under Republican auspices of everything from Hunter Biden to Dr. Fauci, and he'll have to rule by executive order. Had they taken the Senate, they could have not only passed the legislation in both houses and sent it to the president, where it would force him into embarrassing vetoes, but they could have stopped all of his hardcore left-wing judicial appointments, or any appointments. And they were prepared to do that. But I don't think that's more tenuous now as we're talking.
So Victor, you're painting a picture grimly of an America that remains as divided as ever from top to bottom at a time when I think behind a lot of your thinking is that there are a lot of Americans who are actually desperately looking to put that division behind.
Yeah, they are. But what we're doing is, under our federal system, John, we're self-selecting. And so in states that are socialist, such as California, Illinois, and New York, they are not the same states they were 30 or 40 years ago that would elect a Ronald Reagan or a George Deukmejian or a Pete Wilson or a George Pataki or Mayor Daley, a conservative. They are very progressive neo-socialist states, and they're broke, or they're not working, and they're highly taxed, and they're getting enormous exoduses. And over the last 20 years, maybe 8 to 10 million people have left those states and gone to Florida, to Texas, to Tennessee. And the result is that a guy like Beto O'Rourke can spend $100 million, and he's never going to win in Texas, because every conservative from these blue states will go to Texas, and they get hyper conservative. By the same token, when you leave these blue states, a good candidate like Lee Zeldin or Tiffany Smiley in Washington or Tudor Dixon in Michigan against a very poor Democratic candidate is not going to win, because those states are becoming bluer and bluer as conservatives leave them. And so what's happening is the country it's even accentuating those differences, because people are self-selecting in a very mobile society. And we can't quite figure out what's going on, but if you go to Florida today or Tennessee or Texas, and you go to California the next week, or New York or Illinois, you believe you're in a different country. They're becoming that different.